After I refused to give my mom my inheritance, she invited me to a family meeting. When I arrived, they had lawyers ready to force me to sign it over. But the moment they handed me the papers, I smiled and said, "Funny, I brought someone too."
Part 3.
A mutual agreement would have been talking to me before you had a lawyer draft up a document that steals what's mine. My lawyer flipped the contract shut and dropped it onto the table. This document wouldn't hold up in court for 2 seconds. And if you think my client is signing anything today, you're out of your minds. My mom exhaled sharply. "This is ridiculous." I turned to her. "No. What's ridiculous is you trying to manipulate me into handing over everything my dad left me." Her voice turned sharp. "He didn't leave it to you because he loved you more. He just didn't think things through. You don't need all of it. Your siblings deserve their fair share." I clenched my jaw. My siblings? You mean the 2 people who barely even acknowledged Dad existed? The ones who never visited him in the hospital, never called him on his birthday, never lifted a finger when he was sick? They don't deserve a damn thing. My half-brother, who had been sitting quietly in the corner this whole time, suddenly snapped, "That's not fair. We weren't close to him because he never tried with us. He always favored you." I turned to face him. "You mean the man you called a washed-up loser the last time he asked you to come over for Christmas? That man?" He turned red but said nothing. Then, my stepdad, who had been silent up until now, leaned forward. "Listen, son," I cut him off. "Don't call me that." His face darkened, but he forced a fake smile. "All right. Look. We can all sit here and argue, or we can find a way to make this work for everyone." My lawyer smirked. "Oh, we have found a way to make this work. It's called following the will." Then my lawyer reached into her briefcase and pulled out a folder. She slid it across the table toward my mom's lawyer. "That contains a full legal breakdown of the will, copies of my client's rights, and a cease and desist order. If you or your clients continue harassing my client for money, we will pursue legal action." My mom's lawyer flipped through the pages, his face growing more serious by the second. That's when my mom snapped. She stood up so fast her chair nearly tipped over. "You would do this to your own family?" I looked up at her. "You stopped being my family the moment you tried to steal from me." Her hands curled into fists. "You think you're so much better than us, don't you?" I just stared at her. And then she did something that made my blood run cold. She smiled. Not a normal smile. A calculated one. She sat back down, smoothed out her blouse, and sighed. "All right. Fine." She gestured at her lawyer. "We won't fight it." That was too easy. Way too easy. My lawyer must have sensed it too because she narrowed her eyes. "Good. Then we'll be taking our leave." We gathered our things and walked to the door. But just as I stepped out, my mom called after me. "Take care of that house, sweetheart." I paused, turned back. Her smile was still there. You never know when accidents can happen. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I didn't say anything, just walked out. But as I drove home, her words echoed in my head. Something wasn't right, and I was about to find out just how far my mother was willing to go. In the car, Patricia looked over at me, concern etched on her face. "That was a threat," she said bluntly. "You heard it too, right?" I nodded, my hands tight on the steering wheel. "She's never been one to lose gracefully. Document everything from now on," Patricia advised. "Any calls, texts, emails, save them all. If she shows up at your place, record it. If anything happens to the house or your property, report it immediately." "You think she'd actually do something?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. Patricia's expression was grim. "Your father thought so. That's why he made sure the will was airtight. He was protecting you, even after he was gone." That night, I sat in my apartment surrounded by Dad's papers, insurance policies, bank statements, property deeds. Everything was in order, just as he'd left it. I found myself looking at a photo of us from my college graduation. Dad standing tall and proud in his best suit, arm around my shoulders, beaming at the camera. Mom hadn't bothered to show up that day, claiming Emily had a dance recital she couldn't miss. "I'll make you proud, Dad," I whispered to the photo. "I won't let them take what you built." I barely slept that night. My mom's words kept replaying in my head. "Take care of that house, sweetheart. You never know when accidents can happen." It wasn't just a comment. It was a threat. I tried to shake it off. Maybe she was just being dramatic, trying to scare me into second-guessing my decision. But something in her eyes told me otherwise. The next morning, I went to check on the house. I hadn't moved in yet, too many memories, but I planned to eventually. It was still my dad's place, and the thought of someone else living there felt wrong. I pulled into the driveway and immediately felt my stomach drop. The front door was wide open. I knew for a fact I had locked it. I stepped inside, my heart pounding. The house had been trashed. Couch cushions slashed open. Drawers pulled out and dumped onto the floor. My dad's framed photo shattered. And in the middle of the living room, written in red spray paint across the wall, was one word: thief. I clenched my fists. I didn't even have to guess who was behind this. I pulled out my phone and called the cops. While waiting, I checked the rest of the house. The damage was bad, but nothing seemed stolen. This wasn't a robbery. It was a message. Walking through the wreckage of Dad's home felt like a second loss. Every broken picture frame, every slashed cushion, every upended drawer was a violation. In his bedroom, I found the closet ransacked, his clothes thrown on the floor, some of them cut to pieces. His toolbox in the garage had been emptied, hammers and screwdrivers scattered across the concrete. Even the garden shed hadn't escaped, bags of soil had been ripped open, plant pots smashed. But it was the kitchen that hit me hardest. The old oak table where we'd eaten countless meals together lay on its side, one leg broken off. And the refrigerator door stood open, the family photos and notes that had been held by magnets now torn to confetti on the linoleum floor. I knelt down, picking up the fragments, and found a piece of a photo from my high school graduation. Just Dad's smile in one eye, the rest of it gone. That's when I felt the tears come, hot and sudden. I wasn't just crying for the damage. I was crying for the hatred behind it, the pure spite that would drive someone to destroy not just things, but memories. When the police arrived, I told them everything. The threats, the inheritance battle, the so-called family meeting. The officers took notes, asked a few questions, but I could tell they weren't going to do much. Without security footage or witnesses, it's hard to prove who did this, one of them said. I almost laughed. Like I didn't know exactly who was responsible. I filed the report anyway. If nothing else, I wanted it on record. Then I did something I knew my mom and her little army of thieves wouldn't expect. I installed cameras. And not just a couple of cheap ones, I went all in. High definition, night vision, motion-activated cameras covering every possible entrance. The front door, the back door, the garage, even the hallway inside. Then I waited. Sure enough, they couldn't help themselves. After the break-in, I couldn't bring myself to leave the house vulnerable. I called in sick to work and spent 3 days cleaning up the mess, repairing what I could, and installing the security.